Let me tell you the truth that no one is bold enough to say. You don't chase love. You don't beg for it. You become the kind of person it cannot ignore. Because listen up, when you're dealing with an avoidant, someone who runs at the first sign of emotional connection, words won't save you. Pleading won't work. And chasing, it makes you look invisible in their eyes. So how do you flip the script? How do you make them feel the loss? How do you make them chase you like their soul depends on it? When you stop talking, everything changes. You think your words are getting through? You think your explanations, your tears, your I just want us to understand each other are doing something? Let me tell you the raw, brutal truth. When you're dealing with an avoidant, words are noise. Words are static. Words are threats to their fragile emotional system. Every time you try to talk it out, to fix it, to love louder, they shut down harder. They retreat, they vanish, they dissociate. You're screaming into a void and it's swallowing you whole. But silence? Silence is different. Silence is pressure. Silence is power. Silence is the one sound they can't ignore. Because when you go quiet, not out of manipulation, but out of full divine self-respect, you become unpredictable. You were always the one who chased, the one who texted twice, the one who forgave without being asked, the one who tried to hold everything together. You were the emotional glue holding a disconnected person in place. And the moment you stop, boom, their whole nervous system goes into shock. Why? Because the avoidant's greatest comfort was knowing that you would always be there. That no matter how much they withdrew, how many times they ignored your needs, you'd still show up. You'd still text goodnight. You'd still call and check in. You'd still try. So when that stops, when your side of the dance floor goes empty, their illusion shatters. The illusion that they could treat you like an option and still be your priority, gone. The belief that you'd always be available, no matter how unavailable they were, gone. You just broke the pattern. You just disrupted the emotional addiction they never admitted they had. And now the silence is too loud for them to handle. Let me paint you the scene. They're lying in bed. It's 10 p.m. Normally they'd be ignoring your message or leaving you on red, but this time, there is no message. No bubble popping up, no notification, no hey, just checking in, nothing. And at first, they brush it off. They're just mad. They'll come around. But night 2 hits, then 3, then a week, and your absence starts echoing in their head. They scroll their phone. They stalk your socials. They check your activity. They reread old messages. Not because they miss you yet, but because they're trying to figure out what just happened. You just happened. The version of you that decided enough is enough. The version that learned silence is louder than any love letter you ever wrote. The version that walked away, not in rage, but in power. And let me tell you something. When an avoidant can no longer predict your behavior, they become obsessed with your energy, not your presence, your energy. See, when you were available, you were easy to ignore, but now that you're quiet, now that you've stopped trying, your mystery becomes intoxicating. The avoidance brain starts filling in the blanks. Are you over them? Are you moving on? Did you meet someone new? Do you even care? Their detachment was a game until you refused to play. And don't think they don't feel it. Even if they don't reach out, even if they don't say a word, even if they pretend everything's fine, trust me, they notice. Because silence isn't absence. Silence is presence without access. And that is more maddening to an avoidant than any confrontation you could have thrown at them. You want to shake them? Don't scream. Don't send the I deserve better speech. Don't write a novel they won't read. Just vanish. Just stop. Let the void speak. Because here's what silence does. It forces accountability without a fight. They don't get to justify, manipulate, or gaslight their way out of it. There's no dialogue to spin, no emotional chase to reject. Just them, sitting in the discomfort of the space you used to fill, and that space starts to feel heavy. They thought they had time, they thought they had you, but now your silence is screaming. I am no longer available to be mistreated. And if you stay quiet long enough, something wild happens. Their brain starts to panic. You were the constant, the security blanket, the one person who always reached back. But now, you're not reaching, you're not waiting, you're not showing up at all. You've turned the lights off and walked out of the theater, and they're standing on stage in the dark, wondering what the hell just happened. That's when they start chasing ghosts. That's when the tables turn. They become the one scanning rooms hoping to see your face. They become the one checking your last scene. They become the one writing texts they never send, replaying memories like movies they can't pause. And all you had to do was shut up. You see, silence is not weakness. It's not passive. It's not submissive. It's strategy. It's sovereignty. It's the language of someone who has remembered their worth and refuses to repeat themselves. You tried talking, you tried explaining, you tried crying, you tried loving them so loudly they finally hear you, but they didn't. So now, let silence be the sermon, let your absence be the anthem, let the quiet be your sword. Because in that stillness, in that refusal to beg, in that sacred pause, you become unforgettable. They don't miss your words, they miss your energy. And when that's gone, that's when you haunt them. Not with rage, not with bitterness, but with a silence so loud, it deafens everything else. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to throw your transformation in their face. You don't need to post quotes about healing, boundaries, or self-love just to prove a point. You want to trigger an avoidant without saying a word? You do it by leveling up so silently, so radically, so fiercely, that your evolution becomes the loudest thing in the room without you uttering a single syllable. Because here's the brutal truth, they never believed you'd walk away. They counted on your emotional loyalty. They assumed no matter how many times they pushed you away, you'd come back with open arms, with softness in your eyes, with love still dripping from your voice. They assumed your world revolved around them, and maybe it did for a while, but now something has shifted. Something inside of you has broken. And I don't mean broken like shattered. I mean broken like cracked open, like a fire finally released, like a sleeping beast that just woke up with no intention of being tamed again. You've done playing the role of the one who cares more, the one who waits, the one who overgives, the one who explains your heart just hoping they'll finally understand. You've stopped making yourself small so they could feel comfortable. You've stopped dimming your brilliance so they wouldn't feel exposed. Now you rise, but you rise in silence. You rise in elegance. You rise in your lane with zero explanation, zero announcement, and zero apology. You hit the gym harder, not for revenge, not for them to notice, but because your body is your temple and you've neglected it too long. You wear that outfit that used to collect dust in your closet because you finally remember who the hell you are. You post the photo, not with thirst, but with power. You show joy in your eyes that no longer requires their presence to exist. And that right there is what starts to make them sweat. Because avoidants don't chase neediness. They don't chase validation, but they start to obsess over what they can no longer define. And when you level up quietly, when you evolve without a warning shot, you become a question they don't know how to answer anymore. Wait, she used to text me every night, and now she's out with friends glowing like nothing happened? He used to beg for my time. Now he's booked and unbothered. What if I was wrong? What if they don't even care anymore? You're not the same. And that unsettles them because avoidants are addicted to patterns. They feel safe when you're predictable, when your emotions are on the table, when they know exactly how far they can push without losing you. But when you stop giving them that script, when you stop being the version of you who tolerated half love and emotional breadcrumbing, now they're in unfamiliar territory. You've become unpredictable. And unpredictability is attraction. You're not doing this to make them jealous. You're doing this because your life needed you back. Your smile needed you back. Your future needed the version of you who stopped waiting for permission to shine. You're not performing. You're not pretending. You're rising from the ashes and walking out of the damn fire with style. And you're doing it so damn quietly, it's deafening. You don't owe them a speech about how much you've grown. You don't need to message them that you're finally done. You show them you're done by becoming someone who doesn't even recognize the old version of you who begged to be chosen. Let them see the new friendships forming. Let them notice the ambition that's returned to your eyes. Let them watch from a distance while you take back your power and build a life so full, so rich, so magnetic that their presence would only feel like a downgrade. You don't argue your worth anymore. You embody it. You don't demand to be seen. You make your life impossible to ignore. they'll feel the shift. Believe me, they'll feel it. And it won't be from something you post. It won't be from a cryptic caption. It'll be in the way your energy no longer clings. It'll be in the way you walk past them like a stranger they once knew. It'll be in the silence of your soul no longer reaching for crumbs. That's what it hits them. Not during your tears, not during your pleading, but during your peace. That moment when your energy is calm, your focus is forward, and your soul is no longer available for confusion. That's the moment they realize you're not just gone, you've outgrown them. And outgrowing someone silently is the most powerful move you'll ever make. You want to trigger an avoidant to chase you? Don't chase yourself. Don't chase their attention. Chase your purpose. Chase your healing. Chase your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. Because the longer you play small, the longer you deny the world of the strongest version of you. You were never meant to shrink for love. You were meant to rise so fiercely in your truth that anyone who couldn't meet you there simply fell away. They don't need to hear about your growth. They need to feel it in the silence, in the distance, in the unavailability of your energy. That's where transformation speaks. That's where power lives. And that's how the tables turn without a single word from your mouth. You don't need to yell. You don't need to send the final message. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Because the moment you detach, truly detach, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you win. You stop playing the game. You leave the arena. You burn the blueprint they've been using to control the dynamic between you. You become untouchable. Let me say it like this. When you were emotionally invested, you were predictable. You reacted. You cried when they withdrew. You panicked when they got cold. You texted when they went silent. You gave more when they gave less. You were available. You were open. You were vulnerable. And don't get it twisted. That vulnerability was beautiful. It was powerful. But with an avoidant, it became ammunition. They used your emotions to regulate their discomfort. They distanced themselves to create space. And then they watched how far you'd reach. Every time you tried harder, they learned one thing. They were still in control. Not because they were better, not because they were smarter, but because you hadn't figured out yet that your need for connection was the string they tugged when they wanted to feel powerful. But then something shifts, something breaks, something clicks. And suddenly, maybe overnight, maybe slowly, you don't respond the same. You don't chase. You don't explain. You don't ask, why did you pull away? Or did I do something wrong? You stop. You breathe. You choose peace over performance. And that right there, that's detachment. Not the kind where you're bitter, not the kind where you fake it and stalk their socials while pretending to be strong. I'm talking real detachment. The kind that says, I'm not here to fix what you refuse to face. The kind that radiates from your energy like armor. The kind that no longer feels the need to participate in emotional tug-of-war. That's the kind of energy that flips the script completely. Because avoidants don't know what to do with people they can't provoke. Their whole mechanism is built around distance and control. The second they feel things getting real, they run. The second they feel closeness, they panic. And the second you stop reacting to that cycle, their safety net collapses. You were the one they could push away and still feel tethered to. But now the tether's cut. And guess what? You didn't cut it with anger. You cut it with neutrality, with calm, with emotional stillness. That's what drives them insane. Not your rage, not your revenge, but your peace. They send a short text like, hey, just to see if you'll bite. You don't. They post something that used to trigger you. You don't flinch. They disappear and resurface. You don't react. And now they're confused. Now the system is glitching. Because for the first time, their absence isn't causing anxiety. Their silence isn't making you spiral. And that scares them more than anything. You are no longer addicted to the highs and lows. You are no longer waiting for them to come around. You are no longer explaining your worth in languages they refuse to understand. And now you become the threat. Let that sink in. You were once the chaser, now you're the standard. You were once the one who pleaded for closeness, now you're the one who sets the terms. You were once orbiting around them like a lost planet, now you've become the sun. And everything else adjusts to your gravity. Do you know how powerful that is? Do you understand how magnetic you become when you truly release attachment to the outcome? When you stop wanting something from them, they feel it. They feel the shift in your tone, the difference in your energy, the silence behind your smile, and it messes with their sense of identity because you're no longer emotionally available for their emotional absence. You no longer meet them halfway when they only bring breadcrumbs. You no longer entertain potential. You now require presence. And in doing so, you trigger the very thing they thought they'd never feel, loss. They never thought they could lose you. Not really. Because your emotions were always there. Even when you said, I'm done, your energy still begged for closeness. But now your soul has gone quiet. You've reclaimed your emotional bandwidth. And let me tell you, the power of that silence is nuclear. You can be in the same room as them and not flinch. You can hear their name and not feel the urge to check on them. You can see their face and feel nothing but compassion, not craving, because your nervous system has reset. Your boundaries are real now, not just words you hope they respect. And that detachment becomes the final chapter in the story they never believed would end. They might reach out, they might test the waters, they might try to reignite the push-pull dynamic, but it won't work. Not because you're playing games, but because you're finally done playing at all. And that unshakable, unbothered, unchained energy, that's the new you. That's the version of you they can't manipulate. That's the version of you that terrifies them because suddenly you're not chasing. Suddenly you're not available for confusion. Suddenly you're not the same person they walked all over. And now they're the one who feels unsteady. You are the storm they never saw coming. And you didn't scream. You didn't throw a fit. You didn't burn bridges. You just detached. You just stopped entertaining anything that cost you your peace. You just said, I'm not waiting to be loved the right way. I'm choosing to love myself so hard that no one else's indifference can touch me. And now their games feel childish. Their distance feels irrelevant. Their silence feels weak compared to the roar of your inner knowing. You've outgrown their chaos. You've outgrown the need to be chosen. You've chosen yourself quietly, powerfully, permanently. And that right there, that's the move that changes everything. You want to trigger an avoidant without saying a single word? Stop trying to prove your worth. Stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to be understood by someone who is emotionally unavailable by design. Their walls weren't built because of you. Their distance isn't your fault. But the moment you begin to prove, to chase, to show them that you're safe and loving and worthy, you step into the trap and they stop seeing your power. You cannot convince someone to value you while placing yourself beneath them. You cannot inspire love by performing. You cannot beg someone to see your heart while simultaneously handing them the script on how to ignore it. You want to reverse the dynamic? You want them to feel what you felt? Stop feeding them validation, cut the supply, reclaim your dignity. Because the avoidant doesn't respond to reassurance, they respond to space. Not the space you give out of manipulation, but the kind you give because you've realized your self-worth is no longer up for negotiation. The kind of space that says, I don't need to explain why I deserve love, I already know. That energy, that silent, powerful, grounded energy, it shifts the entire atmosphere. When you stop proving, they feel it. When you stop performing, they notice. When you stop pleading, they panic. Because suddenly their game doesn't work anymore. They're used to the emotional high of you chasing them after they withdraw. They're used to the power of silence because it always made you speak louder. But now you've gone quiet. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've actually become hard to reach. And that is a whole different vibration. You're not punishing, you're protecting. You're not ghosting, you're growing. You're not manipulating, you're mastering yourself. And that self-mastery is the highest frequency you can operate from. They don't expect that. They don't expect you to stop showing up. They don't expect you to stop fighting for their love. They don't expect you to stop needing their attention. And that's where it hits them. That's where the mirror flips. That's where the illusion of control starts to crumble. Because you were never the one who lacked value. You just forgot your crown. You forgot that the moment you try to convince someone you're worthy of love, you give them the authority to deny it. And that's over. That ends now. You're done trying to be the exception to their emotional avoidance. You're done trying to teach someone how to love you properly. You're done over-explaining your boundaries, your feelings, your needs, as if they don't already know exactly what they're doing when they pull away, go silent, or give you crumbs. You want to shake them to their core? Show them what it looks like when you stop trying. That doesn't mean you stop loving yourself. That means you stop begging them to love you. That means you start living like your heart is sacred ground and not everyone gets to walk there. And guess what happens then? They start to question everything. Why aren't you reaching out? Why aren't you trying anymore? Why do you look so at peace? Why are you suddenly glowing? They expected chaos, they expected drama, they expected the same emotional tug of war, but now your peace has replaced your pursuit. Your boundaries have replaced your apologies. Your stillness has replaced your suffering. And now they're the ones who don't know where they stand. You see, avoidants don't fear losing you when you're emotionally available and constantly proving your devotion. They fear losing you when you finally realize you never needed to prove anything at all. They fear the day you stop trying to be chosen, because once that day arrives, they no longer have control. And let me tell you something. When you remove your emotional labor from someone who never appreciated it, it shakes the foundation of the relationship. You stop nurturing their avoidance. You stop feeding the cycle. And they're left with their own emotional emptiness, facing the very silence they thought they craved. You've taken your power back. You've said, I don't need to be seen by someone who's blind to my light. You've said, I won't keep knocking on a door that refuses to open. And you've done it all without saying a damn word. That kind of strength, that kind of resilience, it makes you magnetic, because now your energy isn't desperate, it's sovereign. It's self-sufficient. It's whole. You stop texting paragraphs trying to explain your value. You stop reacting to breadcrumb communication. You stop trying to prove you're the one. And instead, you become the one who chooses peace over pressure, the one who chooses power over pleading, the one who doesn't beg to be kept but blesses those who let them go. Now you're a different kind of force, the kind that can't be manipulated, the kind that no longer gets hooked by silent treatments or mixed signals, the kind that walks away not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself too much to keep proving your soul to someone who refuses to meet you halfway. And when you do that, when you stop proving and start becoming, they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Every single day, they check their phone waiting for your name. They scan your stories, hoping for some sign that you still care. They ask mutual friends what's going on with you, pretending they're just curious. But what they're really doing? Trying to figure out how they lost someone who once would have done anything to stay. And the answer is simple. They lost you the moment you realized your worth wasn't tied to their validation. They lost you when you stopped trying to be picked. They lost you when you said, I am the prize. And if you can't see that, you don't deserve front row access to my life. And you didn't scream it. You didn't announce it. You just embodied it. And that's what they'll remember. Not your tears, not your pain, not your effort. Your silence when you finally knew what you deserved. And that is the loudest sound of all.